Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the importance of sound. Sound is just as important as video. Even in the history of cinema, it was revolutionary when they figured out how to do sync sound. Without sound, there is no value to your video. In today's society, we consume content like no other. We get our news through television and online videos, and we consume content like TV shows and movies from Netflix and YouTube from our very own mobile phones or tablets. That's why companies like Netflix or YouTube are thriving. As consumers, it's very easy to forget all the production that goes into making video content. We forget to think about how the video actually sounds. That's because it comes so naturally. Studies have found that sound actually accesses memories of your viewers. They actually found that the same part of the brain that processes sound also stores your memory. Therefore, audio brings the video to life. It brings the entire experience to life. So you really have to invest the time and effort in your audio production. So, the importance of sound. As I already mentioned, sound can actually trigger brain cells to recall certain memories, which can then evoke certain emotions like happiness, guilt, excitement, sadness. Even if you're listening to music without an image, like you're listening to Spotify, for example, it could really evoke emotion. It could really help you start your day and change your mood, make you sad, make you happy. So you really have to think about the importance of sound and how it could really evoke emotion. In video creation, we use different kinds of sound: the human voice, music, and sound effects. Because of this, we can actually use sound as a tool to evoke emotional responses from our viewers. In video brand storytelling, this is absolutely crucial. We are telling stories, and we are telling stories through the human voice, or through music, or even through sound effects. When telling a powerful and meaningful brand story, you really have to understand how to utilize sound and video to work cohesively to tell your story beautifully. These two elements that work together can really help you evoke a certain feeling or a certain emotion from your viewers. I want to talk a little bit about the sound equipment that I strongly recommend you invest in if you haven't done so already. There are 3 pieces of equipment that I use that really works for me and has been so effective for the past few years. So the first one is the Rode on-camera mic. As I mentioned in our camera video, a lot of DSLR cameras or mirrorless cameras don't have great in-camera microphones. So in this case, I would strongly recommend to invest in this Rode mic where you can actually attach it right to the top of your camera on the horseshoe mount and then have the audio go directly to your camera so you don't have to worry about sync audio. And this is great because it saves a lot of time in post-production. Rode is a great company. They're based in Australia. I've only bought their products for sound recording equipment. So I have also the shotgun mic. The Rode on-camera mic, it's a great microphone, especially if you're doing run and gun stuff, documentary style stuff, when you don't have a second person recording separate audio. Okay, so the next mic is the lavalier mic. These mics are especially great for interviews, especially if you're working as a one-man team. You're not always going to have a separate person recording audio. So these lavalier mics are great because you can even get wireless ones. So you can have your subject be walking around doing other things, or even from a distance, and you could be filming them and also still catching great crisp audio. I'll put a couple links below of great lavalier mics that I recommend you invest in. Like I said, especially if you're doing brand storytelling, this mic would be great just because it's a very safe way to capture audio. I absolutely love the lavalier mic just because it's so useful. Even if you're not filming the right moments, you can still be recording these moments via sound, which is so amazing about these lavalier mics. For instance, you have a recorder where you're transmitting this sound from the lavalier mics. Instead of into the camera, you're transmitting this into a recorder. So maybe someone could be adjusting levels, but it's coming to a separate audio recording device. This is great because you could always have this audio recording. Even if your camera's off, you'll be recording audio all the time. So maybe if you're talking to a subject off camera, you could be getting great sound bites just because of them talking naturally, and it's all recording. And it's really great. It's just a really great tool to have. The third piece of equipment is a Zoom H6 recorder. In my opinion, it could be really any kind of sound recorder. I recommend either the Tascam or Zoom. There are 2 really great brands. I personally own the Zoom H6 recorder. It's actually what I've been recording all my videos with. So as you can see right here, this is my Zoom H6 recorder. Just to show you the drastic difference, I'm gonna switch to my camera audio now. So right now you're listening to the in-camera audio from my A7S. Yeah, so it doesn't sound so great and it can be quite distracting. So I'm gonna put this down for a second and I'm gonna switch back to the Zoom right now. You have to really understand the importance of sound because you can have a very professional and cinematic looking video, but if your sound isn't great, you could really distract your viewers and put them off. On the other hand, you can have a not so cinematic video, but amazing audio. The overall experience of the viewer will just be comfortable and it will bring it to life. You have to remember that sound will tap into the same part of the brain that recalls memories. I want to talk a little bit about sound design. Sound design is how filmmakers flesh out the aural world of a film to enhance the mood, atmosphere, or tone. Sound design components include sound effects or SFX sound design, mixing, Foley to sound design, dialogue, and music. Sound design is the final and most important element needed to create an immersive experience for the audience. If you have the budget or even the time, I would strongly recommend you invest this in sound design because it really adds value to your video. When I first started out making videos, I didn't pay too much attention to sound design. Like I've mentioned in earlier videos, I'm quite impulsive and impatient, so I didn't really want to spend the time working on sound design. Like I knew it was important, but I usually thought I could get away with just putting in music or a little bit of dialogue and not really paying attention to the sound design, adding other layers of sound. This all really changed after directing and shooting my first international short documentary called Florice. This was the first time I hired a professional sound designer to add life to my film. It was important for me because my experience in Haiti was a truly immersive experience, living there for a week and with all the sounds and the atmosphere. And I really wanted this to be reflected in the film. So I knew it was important to hire an amazing sound designer. And the process is pretty incredible, especially if you're working with a great sound designer. Obviously it took time, it took a few weeks, but it really added life to the film. This really impacted me when we did a screening of the film in a cinema because we have this surround sound experience and it really brought tears to my eye seeing the life that was brought to this film, and it really brought me back to Haiti and it was absolutely incredible. Just so you can get an idea, I'm going to play a little clip from the documentary so you can get an idea of the sound design.
Trump slurred Haitians, saying they, quote, all have AIDS. Reportedly not the first time Donald Trump has uttered these kinds of comments.
President Trump today questioned why the United States would allow people from Haiti and Africa into the country.
This is a quote. Why are we having all these people from
shithole countries?
Shithole countries come here. You can't dance around it. Those are the words of the President of the United States.
Bonjour. Moi j'ai 15 ans. Moi habite la vache. Ça c'est la caille moi. Ma vive avec famille. Papa me relé Florel Flérimo. Maman me relé Renise Pierre. Aki sem qui relé Naika Flérimo. Premier relé Watson Flérimo. Mackenzie Flérimo. A une cousine qui est Michiano Mathieu. Moi, elle Florize.
Choosing the right music is so beneficial to your video. Just like listening to music on Spotify, it can really evoke emotion. So sometimes it can take up to hours or even days to finding the right music for your piece. But you really have to pay attention to this because music can really change the overall mood of your video. There are many great websites out there where you can find royalty-free music. I specifically use Soundstripe, and Soundstripe has been fantastic. It also has sound effects and atmosphere sounds, and I have an affiliate link below. So if you don't have Soundstripe and you want to subscribe, use this link and you'll get a percentage off your subscription. If you also don't want to use Soundstripe, there are other great royalty-free music websites, which I'll put the links also below. And if you don't have the budget to subscribe to any royalty-free music websites, I would strongly recommend you reach out to your direct network. And if you had a musician friend, this would not only be a great opportunity for you, but a great opportunity for them to really showcase their music through your video. In my case, I lived with a lot of musicians, and one of them happened to be a musician that also really specializes in scoring films. And I've had him score a few of my projects, and I love his work. And sometimes I love his work so much that I get inspired to make videos just based off his music. Like we said already, if music is so powerful, it can really evoke a certain emotion. For me, it really inspired me to make something off the music. One tip I can give you before uploading or delivering your videos is to really test your audio with speakers and headphones. This is because it's similar to the test that musicians do with their music in car radios or car speakers, because you really want to put yourself in the user experience. So in many cases when recording audio, you have to make sure that your recording device, whether it's your lavalier mic or your Zoom recorder or even your camera mic, you really want to keep these mics as close to the subject as possible. Like for me, I personally have my Zoom H6 just off the screen. Like right over here is in frame, here it's off frame. But you want to keep it as close. I mean, obviously if it's over here, it might sound a little bit like a podcast, but you know, for example, if you even had a person to do separate audio and recording with a boom mic, you really want to keep that shotgun mic as close to your subject as possible. Obviously off frame, but as close as possible. I'll also be putting links below on tutorials on how to make your audio sound better. And this can be done through Adobe Premiere or even Adobe Audition if you have the entire Creative Cloud. So remember, if you have the Creative Cloud, really utilize all the programs that they give you. Because when I filmed the documentary series in Castelfalfi, I didn't have a lavalier mic or a shotgun mic or whatever. All I had was my Zoom H6 recorder. And what I did for all my interviews is that I would put this on a little tripod and put it as close to the subject as possible. And from this, I got great audio.
10 anni ho assaggiato il primo bicchiere di vino perché in torchiatura, quando torchiavamo il vino, usciva il succo e allora mio nonno mi faceva provare questo vino. E quindi...
And I also synced up the audio in post, and I'll also be putting a link on how to do that below. And there may be cases where you won't have access to a mic. For example, one of the interviews I did for Tales of Castelfalfi, my Zoom H6 recorder had no more battery and we could not find any spare batteries on that day. And we couldn't reschedule the shoot because our subject could only film today. And all I did was get my iPhone and use the voice memos and put it as close to the subject as possible. From this, you can actually get great audio. Obviously, it's not better than your Zoom H6, but it's better than your in-camera audio.
Just the vastness of the property. Where does it begin? Where does it end? And the fact that there are...
So I'd remember at the end of the day, if you have no audio recording device, you have your phone. Your phone is a great audio recording device. And speaking of your phone, Rode actually puts out a lavalier mic where you can directly record it to your phone, and I'll also put the link to that below. Alright guys, so get started on watching these videos, and if you're already a pro in sound, that's amazing. You're ready, step ahead, and on that note, I will see you in the next video.